Good morning. The day has arrived. We're learning about semicolons. Semicolons are my favorite punctuation mark. I love them because they make our writing seem really fancy and sophisticated, but they really aren't much different than your good old everyday period. Essentially, there are three ways to use semicolons. We are going to spend most of our time on just two of them, but I will touch briefly on the third one. The first and the one that we see most often is just using a semicolon to combine two complete thoughts. So if we take the example toward the top middle, Charisse, these are two complete thoughts, two simple sentences. It says, Charisse notices her friend needs help. She decides to stay after school with him. So those are fine. They're simple sentences, but they work. We could also combine these two complete thoughts with a comma and conjunction, making a compound sentence. So we have Charisse notices her friend needs help, comma, so she decides to stay after school with him. The third option is to connect the two thoughts with a semicolon. Make sure if you are doing this that your ideas are related. So you would not want to say something like, pizza is my favorite food, semicolon, the sky is blue. Those two things have nothing to do with each other, so we do not want to use a semicolon in that case. But other than that, you're good to go. So you'll notice down here we have our two complete thoughts with a semicolon in the middle. Charisse notices her friend needs help. She decides to stay after school with him. The only real difference here is that if you'll note that the second complete thought does not need to be capitalized. And we have a period at the end. So there's way number one. The second way to use a semicolon is very similar to the first, but we're adding a transition word before that second sentence. So this is another way we see semicolons used. We have our first complete thought, I have a big test tomorrow, semicolon. Therefore, I can't go out tonight. So we have a complete thought, and then a semicolon, and then a transition or transition phrase plus a comma, and we end with our second complete thought. Some more examples of this usage. Everyone knows he is guilty. Of course, it will never be proven. Sarah's guest was turned away by the doorman. As a result, she left before the presentations. The last way, we are not going to be quizzed or tested over. We're not going to spend really any time except for right now on it, but I do want you to just be aware. If you have a list and within that list there are commas, you want to use semicolons to separate out your list items. So for example, in my life, I've lived in Overland Park, Kansas, Lincoln, Nebraska, in Kansas City, Missouri. So if we didn't use a semicolon, it would look like Overland Park and Kansas and Lincoln and Nebraska and Kansas City and Missouri were all separate items in the list. This semicolon lets us know that Overland Park, Kansas is a place, Lincoln, Nebraska is a place, and Kansas City, Missouri is a place. So it just helps us to delineate the items in the list. I think that's all I have to say. Thanks for listening and happy grammaring.